and welcome back to Cinema Vino.
Cinema Vino.
It's good to have you guys here with us. We got Sean Jordan.
Hello.
Showjo. And I'm Todd Wofford. And we are going to take a look at the movies we're going to do, this movie and the next movie, Wag the Dog. We're going to look at movies that are timely, that kind of older movies that fit current headlines. And this one's going to be First Man, movie that came out in 2018.
This flew under the radar. I had completely lost sight of this. I did not know this came out in 2018. I mean,
surprisingly so.
It has been a bit of a blur since then.
Yeah, definitely in so many ways.
But this movie came out pretty quietly, right?
It did. It did for the big star and
a lot of big names.
Yeah.
Or medium-sized names.
And people you would recognize.
Yeah,
for sure.
a lot of medium-sized names.
Yeah. And it's a biography it's a biopic or a biopic, depending on where you're from, of Neil Armstrong. So obviously a big historical figure.
I've actually heard it called a biopic.
A biopic.
Biopic.
And that's what we're going to say from now on.
Yeah.
This is biopic.
This is biopic of Neil Armstrong.
That's the Borat pronunciation.
Biopic.
So yeah, this came out in October 12th, 2018. I saw this in the theaters.
No.
I did.
You didn't invite me?
I think this was a date night movie, but...
So you didn't invite me?
I thought about it, and you would have looked great sitting right next to us.
What a big old tub of popcorn.
Just passing it back and forth.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, just sharing a box of Raisinets.
That's right. You can suck the chocolate off, I'll eat the raisin.
Words I live by. That was on my last fortune cookie.
Well,
yeah. Like, huh. And my lucky numbers, which shall remain anonymous.
69.
You figured me out.
Nice.
So this grossed $105 million against a $59 million budget.
Okay.
87% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Good score.
Yeah. And this is based on a biography by James R. Hansen. And for those who don't know the movie First Man, this is a biography of Neil Armstrong. And it covers him from his days as a test pilot for the Air Force all the way through and beyond the Apollo 11 moon landing. So you see him as a member of the Mercury 7 initial missions to space, where I believe he is bypassed to the second program, Project Gemini. I want to say
I have never heard it pronounced Gemini.
It
has always been pronounced Gemini.
And I was explaining to my wife last night, it's weird that ordinarily it's spelled Gemini. And you would think looking at it would be Gemini. But supposedly, the story goes that I think it was Gordon Cooper, one of the astronauts was from Oklahoma. And he was dead set against calling it Gemini because he thought it sounded too fancy and academic. He wanted something more earthy, and so he wanted to call it Gemini. And so that became NASA's official pronunciation of it was Gemini.
I tell you what, that did not stand the test of time because let's get ahead of this. I grew up around NASA, down in the Space Center area.
Yeah.
My dad worked for the Space Center, worked in the space industry. Gemini. Everyone called it Gemini. There are roads called Gemini.
Yeah.
Funny thing, all of the roads around NASA are all named after different NASA missions. So Gemini, Mercury, Apollo, Challenger, things like that are all,
yeah.
It's Gemini.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's Gemini.
And I think it's probably fitting that once the program aged out of that group that it became Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because eventually it becomes what you read on paper and magazines and what, journalists say on TV. It's going to evolve from the original Gemini into Gemini.
But I guess it is historically accurate if they were pronouncing it Gemini.
I hate to say it, but yeah, if you go back and look at them back then, they're saying Gemini. Even from Mission Control to the capsule, they're saying Gemini.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, that's the Oklahoma connection there that he wanted to like Jiminy Cricket. That's how
Jiminy Cricket.
Mm-hmm. And so, this basically is the novelty of this movie. Unlike movies like The Right Stuff and Apollo 13, the director Damien Chazelle opts for a very intimate kind of you are in the cockpit almost exclusively. There are very few like wide vista shots of the Earth or the space capsule or the launch pad. It's very tight shots of Ryan Gosling and whoever he's on the mission with.
Well, I think it did a really good job of telling the story of how claustrophobic these ships were, and these capsules were very tiny.
Yeah.
And they were putting these guys in very tiny capsules on the tips of very big rockets and then chunking them into space.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job of capturing how unsettling it is.
And rickety. Loud. Yeah.
Just terrifying.
It's like, when he goes up, I think it's the whatever Gemini 8 or whatever he was on, and you can like hear like clattering and stuff banging together and stuff that you don't want to hear, in a capsule going into space. Like it sounds like you're driving in a beat up old car, kind of a thing where it's like this should be holding together better than it is.
Well, and even going back to his days as a early test pilot, when he's in that first glider, the first shot we see is him in a glider that gets dropped, and he just has to like hit a booster that takes him to Mach 4 really fast.
Yeah.
Exits the Earth's atmosphere, and then he's doing an exercise outside of the atmosphere. Like that itself takes you real quick into what it's going to be like as, seeing through the eyes of Neil Armstrong.
Yeah. And it really
terrifying.
Yes. And it shows, again, very close shots of, again, rather than using the wide vista shots to give you a sense, like Apollo 13, to give you a sense of space and direction. A lot of times this film will go close up on the altimeter or the instrumentation to show like that whenever the Gemini capsule goes out of control, a lot of times they'll show the rolling on the instrumentation like that they're out of control.
Yeah.
Which apparently was a real event that they had to abort that mission.
Yeah, 100%.
And apparently they spun out of control like that for like 20 plus minutes. So there'd be a lot of casserole all over that cockpit if that were me. But supposedly he was very cool and calm in the real life.
Well, the thing is that's kind of the theme throughout this movie is he has fucking ice in his veins.
Yeah.
He's getting put into these situations that are terrifying, and he's just Iceman. And that's very much like a pilot thing. And I think that's why he got selected.
Yeah.
That's why he was Neil Armstrong, is because he could not panic and just like see through a mission.
And it's interesting because what I had always heard was that NASA really wanted Buzz Aldrin to be the first guy out of the capsule on the moon, because Neil Armstrong was such an introverted person.
Wasn't charismatic like Buzz?
He was a lot quieter. He was a lot more introspective than Buzz. Buzz was good for sound bites. He was very outspoken. He was good at the press conference. He was good at he still is. He's still good at giving quotes.
At 96.
Yeah, he's still out there. And so they kind of wanted him to be the first, but I want to say they drew straws or something to determine who would go first. And Neil.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Neil won it, but something crazy that was like, figured it out that way.
Huh.
And it may have even been that Armstrong was commander and pulled rank, but it seemed like it was pretty easy. It's crazy to me to think that, like, watch this movie. I told my wife, it's like, it blows my mind that literally they show him packing and getting his stuff together like he's going on a work trip to Wichita.
Gotta get my toothbrush, gotta get my razor.
Say bye to his kids, like, I'm going to the moon. I'll see you in a few days.
I'll be back. Going to the moon.
It's like how ordinary they portray that, like his house with the wood paneling and the kids like, playing on the floor. It's like, okay, well, I'm going up in the Atlas rocket. I'll see you in bed.
All right, Jimmy, take care of your mom. I'll be back.
Yeah. Daddy's got to work. Just that just blows my mind.
Daddy's got a work trip.
Yeah. And it's like that I never thought of it that way, looking at the famous pictures, that's a dude who came from somewhere, who commuted to work, a few days ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What are we drinking?
So we are drinking the Casa Silva Carmenera from Chile. And again, we're doing like kind of unheralded wines to go with our unheralded movies. Carmenera is probably the most famous grape known from Chile. For a long time, they thought that it was Merlot until they went in and discovered that it was Carmenera, is a different grape altogether.
What do you mean they thought it was Merlot?
Well,
they thought they were growing Merlot, and it was It wasn't Merlot the whole time?
The grapes were similar enough in taste and color that they thought they were Merlot grapes until they came in and identified them as Carmenere. And this was in the 90s when they figured out that what they thought were Merlot.
So were they selling it as Merlot before?
They must have been. I mean, this was back before really Chilean wines took off globally. So I'm sure this was a thing locally that they were marketing it as, Merlot table wine. And they went in and discovered, once they did some tests, like, no, this is a different grape, kind of a cousin to Merlot. And it has some of that same profile of like, it has that same kind of peppery spice to it, that same.
Yeah, a little bit of like warming spices. It doesn't have the same body characteristics. No. It's a little bit sharper, not as soft on the edges.
Yeah. This has a little more of a Cabernet bite to me.
Yeah.
We're drinking right now.
Yeah. You feel a little bit more.
This one has not necessarily more oomph, but more of a sharp flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the broadside Merlot that we had for the previous was a little softer.
A little gentler.
Yeah. So it depends on what you like. In theory, you could blend these two together and it would give you a good.
Yeah. No, I think flavor-wise, they're very complementary to the wine that we're going to drink in the next podcast that you haven't listened to yet.
Yeah. Our continuity is a little off on a personal level. But yeah, you could take this Merlot and blend it with this Carmenere and it would soften the edges of the Carmenere. So, and that demonstrates why one of the great uses of Merlot is it's a wine with a good body, but it can still take the edge off of a sharper wine like a Cabernet.
Yeah.
So
what? Where would you recommend drinking this? With meal?
Yeah, I think
on its own.
Either way, but I think you could do this definitely. I mean, any sort of big meal, I think it'd go. I mean, again, I'm not a lamb guy, but I
made lamb last week.
Yeah. I think this would go well with lamb. I really do. But I think you could do it with any sort of hearty meal. It would go well. It's got enough body and kind of, peppery edges to it that any sort of big, especially red meat.
Good Easter wine?
Good Easter wine,
perhaps?
For sure. It'd be a great Easter wine. But yeah, for those who joined the podcast pretty recently, I grew up on a farm. I raised a lot of sheep from lambs as pets. So can't do lamb. I know a lot of people love lamb, and I paired a lot of wines to sour lamb, but with the idea that I just don't eat mutton. So
that's why I can't eat dog.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the dog. The right day, the right time, I could probably chow down. So
yeah, the wrong dog.
Yeah. So
you might ask yourself, what's wrong, dog?
Yeah, I could definitely get down some up dog for sure.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
What is up, dog?
I don't know what's up with you.
Not much.
So you had not seen this before?
No. This was a pleasant surprise.
So what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good look at the space history. It got a lot of details right. It really had a lot of characters and it had a lot of content to cover. And I think for how much ground it covered, no pun intended, it did a really good job of creating a cohesive story, compelling characters. You really had a through line of Neil Armstrong's life is kind of hung on this clothesline of loss,
grief.
Yeah. And like starting from when he was a pilot to he lost his daughter to cancer, and then he made friends that were other astronauts and he lost those astronauts. And then you see the losses in Apollo 1 and that was devastating to him. And just everything you see the terror in his eyes that are sort of, it's behind the eyes. And Ryan Gosling does a really good job of kind of having that like wide-eyed terror while maintaining a cool demeanor. It felt very much like, okay, yeah, this is the 60s. He wasn't allowed to show vulnerability or talk about his loss or talk about, what it means to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what Neil Armstrong actually was like. Maybe he was, very vocal about his struggles.
Yeah.
But
it's how he came across publicly anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And astronauts are not trained to be PR people.
Yeah.
Astronauts are trained to be scientists.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of displaying that element as well as like how much science went into being an astronaut and how much in the interviews, like you had to be on it. You had to know your stuff. You had to know physics. You had to know, rocketry. And especially in those early days of NASA, it felt like it was very cobbled together with, shoestring budgets. And we were very much just trying to keep up with the Russians and trying to stay ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so it felt like there was this sense of urgency with the space exploration that we don't have today, where we can kind of take our time and be a little more intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of thoughts about NASA just in general, but I thought this was a really good representation of what that felt like for them and why it was so important to do it and the timeline that they did it and trying to live up to JFK's timeline that he presented.
Yeah.
Keep up with the Russians.
Mm-hmm. I read where they address this controversy, like the political like ramifications of the Apollo program, and how there was some pushback from the public about it. And basically, I read that in today's dollars, they spent about
$250 billion.
It was closer to 400 billion.
Really?
Uh-huh. It was a blank check. 5% of the country's like GDP went towards Apollo. About 5 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So
worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a space nerd.
I would gladly spend 5% of my taxes on space exploration.
Me too.
Than Vietnam.
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck else they were doing in the Nixon administration.
Iran.
Yeah.
Now,
yes. Yeah.
Or Venezuela, or wherever the fuck we're going next.
Who knows? Who has the oil?
Yeah.
Who has a strait that we can blockade?
Greenland or Denmark or wherever.
Yeah, I mean,
so
we can take over fucking Madagascar next. I don't, who knows?
Yeah,
it's strategitic.
Yeah,
we'll get into politics in the next episode.
Yeah.
No, I think this movie did a really good job of, and it did start layering in some of that, like, okay, yeah, you're spending a lot of money on space exploration. People are getting unhappy. And I think that is always going to be coupled with when the government is spending excessively on war and spending excessively on space, or just spending on space, people are going to look around and say, like, where are my tax dollars going?
Yeah.
And when you have a war going on at the same time, especially like Vietnam, people are going to be very conscious of, what is my government tax money going toward?
Yeah.
How does the space industry benefit me? And obviously now it's easy to look back and say the Apollo missions were so historic and there was so much science that came out of NASA as a result of just that entire process that the country as a whole benefited. But at the time, I mean, we're seeing it today with Artemis 2 just went off, obviously, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Complete success.
Absolute success. Banger of a mission. The first thing people have ever felt hopeful for with this administration for the last, I don't know,
many, many years,
10-ish years.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're still seeing people that are like, why are we spending $93 million on, or $93 billion on the Artemis mission?
Yeah.
But I will say that Artemis mission is that $93 billion is over the course of like 10 years.
And yeah, they did it for, I mean, comparatively speaking, again, inflation adjusted much less than Apollo.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this. My dad actually helped design the Apollo capsule.
Oh, wow.
Or not the Apollo capsule, the Orion capsule, the capsule on the Artemis ship.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Artemis is the mission. Orion is the capsule on the rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. He helped design that.
That's awesome.
And he retired about 10 years ago, and they're just now taking their first manned mission.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of, obviously in this country, political upheaval and changes direction. And you know, kind of asymmetrical leadership.
The space industry has been a very much like a back burner jockeying point for congressional budgets. It has not been a priority for either party. It is not a popular I don't know. It's a nice to have, I think, for a lot of government agencies. And we've been running a deficit for the government for so long. And we've been spending so much money on military spending and
all that other crap.
All the other stuff that our government spends money on.
But it's funny to think like what kind of spurred, I think, and accelerated this program was that China is aggressively working towards building a moon base and launching their own moon program. It's history repeating itself where it's
back to a space race.
It's like, we can't have the Chinese building a moon base and having like satellites in orbit, around the moon and then going on to Mars. And so it's that competitive drive of like,
well, and my dad worked on this proposal back in starting in like 2004. This was the proposal to build out the Orion capsule. And the idea was we were going to get back to the moon, build a base on the moon, create a staging platform where we could launch off, go to Mars, right? Because there's less gravity. You can slingshot off the moon and kind of make your way that way. But it lost funding in 2008. There were consolidations in the space industry, just like kind of went to the wayside for a long time. And then there was a big push for privatization with like SpaceX and with
Blue
Origin and Virgin Galactic. And the problem is when you go private sector, those companies are beholden on the profits that their shareholders want to see. And when you are a profit-based industry, you are not doing things for the sake of exploration. You're not doing things for the sake of completing a mission.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, while what SpaceX is doing or has done is impressive, I don't think they're ever going to be able to do what the public sector space exploration is capable of doing.
Yeah.
Which is going to the moon for the sake of going to the moon.
Yeah. Because it's like the public, NASA can divorce the business side out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this movie does a good job tying it back to this movie of kind of showing some of that friction that started coming out of the 60s of, even though the space race and going to the moon was such a big moment in our nation's history, there was friction to it. And I think there was, Apollo went up until Apollo 17 was the last mission?
17 or 18, yeah.
17 or 18. And we never went back.
Yeah.
It's been 50 years since we've been that close to the moon.
Yeah. And I've read where 2033, they're going to try to do a Mars flyby. That's on the schedule, potentially.
2033. 33?
Yeah. It's like that's when the planets line up well enough that, and again, like you say, SpaceX, that whole thing is chaos, but that's what they're trying to build towards, being able to have like a flyby of the planet for 2033.
Is Elon Musk going to be on that one?
We can only hope.
Get him off the fucking planet for a month.
Yeah, that would be, I guess, a 600-day mission if it's successful.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah.
So what would you give this movie?
Honestly, this movie was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I was happily surprised. I would give this like an 8.5.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was a really good emotional movie. It was it did such a good job of putting you into the perspective of Neil Armstrong as he's going through all this tumult.
Yeah.
And just being claustrophobically shoved into these capsules that are being hurled into space.
Yeah.
His wife was, a really well acted character, but I felt like it was very much she was on the back burner on the wayside, and she clearly was going through some stuff that they never really explored.
Yeah, not enough.
Neil Armstrong was in no way like a compelling character, and he was never complimentary to his wife or comforting to his wife. He was just like, all right, I'm going to space. Get out of my face. What are you doing?
And so for me, that was when I initially reviewed the movie. That was my only really ding on it. It's not so much a flaw of the movie, but it's more of a narrative and structural issue of like basing the movie around someone like Neil Armstrong, who was, by all accounts, kind of a withdrawn and kind of mercurial person. The movie
Mercury was a different mission.
Exactly. It creates a different energy than a lot of other, because ordinarily a movie like this would be based around, like, for example, like Apollo 13, you got someone like Jim Lovell, Tom Hanks, a very dynamic, charismatic, instantly likable person. That was not Neil Armstrong. And not to say that not at all that he was a bad person, but he could come across very shy and aloof. And it's interesting that he occupies such a huge space in world history, and he was such an introverted person.
What was funny to me is just the way they built up Ryan Gosling's character through the whole movie was very much like reserved and quiet. And then they got to the parts of the movie that they had to get him to say the things that we know for sure Neil Armstrong said, like, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And to me, that felt very out of character for the way they kind of built him up. I was like, yeah, this Neil Armstrong would never say something corny like that. Like, it felt very forced, because we obviously know what he said as soon as he stepped on the moon. Yeah,
he has to say it.
He has to say it. Like, say the line, Bart. Like,
I didn't do it. Yeah. So, and I agree that it made the movie a little bit awkward in that way. Yeah. That, it's just,
we knew where it was going. Yeah. We knew what line was coming.
And like you say, it's like, it doesn't jive up with the way they presented the character. It's like they almost lean too hard into that aspect of the character. And like you say, maybe he wasn't that way in private, but that's how he presented himself in public.
Yeah. I mean, we have no way of knowing, right? Yeah. I mean, was this based off a book? Was this based off of like
a biography?
Okay. Yeah.
So not an unflattering portrayal. If anything, it's probably pretty accurate.
No, I don't think it was unflattering by any means. I think it was just very almost stylized portrayal.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought Ryan Gosling did a great job.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He looks great with a very square haircut.
He looks like an astronaut. He fits that bill.
Yeah.
Of, those original.
Although I went back and looked at pictures of Neil Armstrong. He had a little bit of shag to him. He had a little longer hair.
He did. And I thought the actor Corey Stoll looked a lot like Buzz Aldrin. Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Resemblance.
Yeah. Corey Stoll, he always plays an asshole.
Really well.
Really well. I've never seen him play like a nice guy.
And a good fit for this character.
Yeah.
So
I do love Buzz Aldrin, though. Don't get me wrong.
And he's the guy who will say what no one else wants to.
Yeah, he'll punch somebody who doesn't believe in moon landing.
Exactly, which is awesome.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. And that kind of touches on how, the mythology of how we see the astronauts, like these Marlboro men, who are tough and, just these badass, like, jock pilots.
Well, it's so great to just, like, to see the moon landing put into the perspective of where we were technologically at the time is, you see, like, some of the cars they were driving in this movie and being like, okay, yeah, that was, the 60s were not, like, very technologically advanced, and we were strapping dudes to rockets.
Yeah.
We were just yeeting guys into space and just being like, all right, here you go.
With computers, you could even run Windows 95 on.
No, the computers didn't do anything. The computers at best were just, telling you telemetry.
Yeah.
But all the calculations were done by hand. There's tons of movies about that, tons of movies about
rules and
all the mathematicians that were in Alabama that went into calculating the flight paths and the routes and how important that piece was. Nowadays, we have amazing computers. We have amazing information that can go into everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the work that we're doing at NASA trivial, but it makes it that much more impressive that we were able to get somebody on the moon with the capabilities that we had.
It's incredible.
Yeah. No wonder it costs as much money as it did.
Yeah. All that R&D. And it's like, now, they're complaining up there when they can't access, like, the Wi-Fi network on the.
Yeah, I can't get my Outlook to open up. Yeah. I have 2 versions of Outlook, and neither one of them is working.
That's how far we've come.
That is the most universal complaint we've ever heard out of an astronaut. It's like, yeah, I also have 2 versions of Outlook, and I can't get either one to work.
Yeah, it's like, man, is that the blue screen of death? I can't get away from that thing.
Oh, yikes. Reboot your BIOS.
Got to open up Task Manager.
It was kind of cool. Like I said, kind of growing up around that area, you hear a lot of these things as just kind of commonplace, but like Deke Slayton, the character played by, I think the Friday Night Lights guy.
Kyle Chandler.
Yeah. There's a hospital named after him. In that area, kind of like right across from NASA.
Yeah.
My dad worked in Johnson Space Center like all the time when I was a kid.
Wow.
I went to Space Center Houston all the time. They have replicas or the original like rockets, like the Saturn V rockets that are there that we send people to the moon on. So you can kind of get a grasp of like the scale of how big those rockets were. And Space Center Houston, you can sit in replica capsules that like show you what it was like to be in, like how closed off it was and how tight those spaces were that they were up in space.
Yeah. I think that might have been because I went to the Johnson Space Center when I was pretty young. I think that really activated my space nerdery. Really it's like, wow, this is so cool. So I was trying to push that really hard for my oldest son. I'm like, look at this. Isn't this awesome? It's like they're going 20-something thousand miles an hour and, through space. In like a little capsule and it's zero gravity. It's just awesome.
Yeah. I think the last couple of weeks have really made me, appreciate the privilege of growing up around the space industry and everything that I've known. Just like half the people that I was friends with, their parents worked in the space industry. Like I went to church with like the lady who piloted the Vomit Comet, like the zero gravity testing plane.
Yeah.
And like I went to school with a guy whose dad was like the doctor for the astronauts. And I babysat for a guy who trained all the Artemis astronauts. So like he was like the chief trainer for all the Artemis astronauts. And like I said, my dad built the freaking capsule.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is so cool now that we've done this mission. I can be like, I freaking knew these people. It's everyday people that go in and make space exploration happen.
Yeah.
But you have some very cool astronauts that get a lot of the attention for.
Yeah. And yeah, it's cool. We're finally seeing like the result of all that work and all the people involved.
Yeah. And like I said, it's been going on for 20 plus years at this point that my dad started the proposal process for building it.
Yeah. So it definitely, like I say, it ignites my nerdery and I want to see more of it,
And I hope it ignites, a new wave of people that are interested in it.
Yeah.
Going forward.
See how cool it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're 8'5"?
8'5".
Yeah. I'm probably 7'5", 8", somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so out there in the world, First Man, check it out.
First Man.
Yeah. Good movie. Especially if you're a fan of, space geekery or the Artemis mission that just happened. Just check it out. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and then
give you a new appreciation of space exploration.
Watch it and then go watch the Artemis highlights. And again, see how far we've come technology wise. It is night and day.
That's right.
So 4K images from the moon. So.
Yeah. Man, the moon looked cool.
It did.
It looks really cool.
It did. Even the pictures of Earth at night.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are like, why does the Earth look so dull? It's like, it's because it's nighttime. You can see the sliver of daylight.
It's nighttime, buddy.
Yeah.
The sun's on the other side.
But great movie. It's out there on streaming. Check it out. And yeah, it's been another episode of Cinema Vino. We got Sean Jordan.
Howdy.
And I'm Toddy Wofford. And great movies, only drunker. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye.